Hi, it's Xavier again. I'm not going to say it, he will. No, I'm going nuts, aren't I? Apart from sweat, general malaise and a desire to go and throw yourself in the sea, what is the other one of the big symptoms or signs of hot weather? That. This is one of my nice mame oaks. It's gone on quite happily for a number of years. No reason to doubt its health. And to be fair, I've watered twice a day. Although on one of the days I only watered in the evening, which means potentially going backwards it went 24 hours that water. I looked back on the temperature chart and that was one of the days when it was 26, 27 right through, and in that time the heat and the sun managed to cook everything that was in the pot. And bearing in mind that one of the disadvantages with using a fairly free draining soil mix in organic is that it lets water through quite quickly. So if you're in a climate where it's a lot hotter and claggier, I've got a funny feeling you either want to be changing your misting or your watering regimes, or you might even want to try changing your soil routines. But that's just a thought. Normally in this country we don't struggle with extended periods of heat, i.e. more than 3 days without rain, but now it's happening. We're certainly to our second week really without rain, and it looks like we've got another week and a half of it. So what do? Now I'm not going to steal Adam's thunder. He's I think it's growing my bonsai, all things bonsai. Yeah, Adam. He did an excellent little 3-minute about what happens when you see your tree and it's just dried up. And he said straightforward, a few simple things to do. So what I'm going to do is go through probably 3 of the most common things that I find cause problems with me. Apart from my mouth, which you can probably guess by now, and my colour schemes. But no, so we're going to have a look at a few trees and hopefully reassure you not to get too worried if you see the same thing amongst your own. So let's zoom in a bit. Okay, so as I was talking about, this oak started its life in about 2014. Dug it up from a sister's garden when it was a little wee nipper, and I've kept it stunted ever since in this very small pot. The key thing to remember is if you put anything in a small pot, you need to look out for its watering regime, because otherwise what you get is this. And clearly I don't think there's that much moisture in those leaves, and they're certainly not going to be doing any good. So does that mean it's a goner? Well, if you looked at Adam's video or many others that actually talk about this, no, of course it doesn't. All you do to check is you just take a little bit of the bark, scrape it with your fingernail. If you look there, nice and green, that means the cambium's still doing everything it should. So all that's happened is basically the tree said, I can't afford to lose all this moisture through the leaves, so my first defense, the first thing I can survive without initially, is leaves. So it says I'm going to get rid of all these leaves, which is where all the moisture is currently going from, and try and conserve. So hence our leaves are dead. And it's simple, the answer is simple. Once you've established that the tree's not actually dead, you obviously give it a good soak. It's not a case of you put tons and tons of water and it all comes screaming back to life. No, but you just want to rehydrate the soil mix. There's no point holding on to the dead leaves. They will eventually fall. But what we'll do is essentially what we're doing is a full defoliation. Now granted, the tree's stressed, so it's not going to be happy you're doing this, but to be perfectly honest, it's already cooked, so it probably ain't that happy anyway. But there's no point having dead leaves on there. It may be that a lot of these little branches are also dead, but I don't need to do anything to find that out. I'll keep the main stuff on for now and just see what happens. Once you've removed all the leaves, you keep it hydrated, but you find somewhere nice and cool and dark to keep it. preferably not a cupboard or a drawer, but somewhere outside. But down here at the bottom of the garden I've got quite a few spots where I can hide my trees away, and basically they just get very, very light partial sun. And I'm pretty confident that come a few weeks time, we'll get to test this, it'll be sending out another flush of growth. But right now it isn't. But right now it just needs to start again. And already I've seen there's quite a clear move that I want to make here actually, and that's to cut this off. And because I'm already putting out stress, I'm actually going to take that top end off so that it doesn't waste energy trying to get anything up there. And we'll see if we can get stuff developing from here. I mean, you see that a lot of the buds at the side have also dried off. So, you know, it's a case now of finding out exactly where we're going to get growth from. We'll follow this tree with a degree of something or other. Anyway, so that's a dried oak, and that's the principle you would apply to anything. Putting that to one side, you can also find that once you see something small like that, you start to worry that maybe there's something else you've missed. Anyway, so imagine my shock and horror when, having discovered the oak, I thought let's just have a look around, and I found this little disaster. This is a Corkbark Elm, and again this is one that developed completely from scratch. It's 20-30 years old. It's got lovely bark and beautiful, nice root system, compact pot, and that's the thing that with everything else going on I lost sight of. It was hiding at the back of the top bench, waiting actually for me to prune it. And now the pruning is actually an awful lot easier, because all I'm going to do is take all the leaves off. And again, I'm more than happy that the tree itself isn't dead. I've done a little scratch test, and though I may well lose a number of branches that I've been working on for a few years, hopefully I'm going to find that some of them are not too bad. And what I'm going to do, once I've taken a few leaves off, and I'll go right around the tree and do this, if we look here, I've actually started building up quite a ramification. What I might do is, if I was doing a full defoliation, I would actually be cutting back to these little buds, and there's little micro buds, so I'm just going to cut back halfway and see if I've got green in there. And it's so small I can't tell, so I'm just going to cut back and assume that there is life. Now if there's no life in those buds, this cutting back isn't going to make a jot of difference, to be honest. All that's going to happen is nothing's going to come from there. But what you might get, and you'll have seen it if you've had a sick tree before, is certainly with elms, you'll get a load of profuse budding coming from the crotches, coming from the trunk. It'll throw out new buds everywhere, which is positive in one thing. It means your tree's not dead, but the bad thing is it means you're basically going to be able to start and rebuild a lot of it again, which that isn't so good. It's taken me 5 years to get this one to where it is now. So I am just going to literally go around this tree and treat it as if it was fully defoliated, and I'm going to cut back to buds, and I'm going to say please, 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 let's see if we can get some new growth from those bud points. So we'll see. I'm going to go on and finish doing that anyway. Obviously with that in the foliage I can actually remove 2s, 3s and do all the standard pruning work I would do on this tree anyway. So, you know, we can always use some things to our advantage. The tree's not dead, and hopefully we'll get some buds coming out of all of those. But again, same principle, get rid of the foliage and keep it well hydrated, but don't go nuts on it, don't sort of drown it, because too much water can be just as bad as too little. The one big thing I say is, whatever you do, do not fertilize. Any tree that's sick, any tree that's struggling in any way, shape or form, you do not fertilize it. And in the middle of summer you don't fertilize it either, because the tree is trying to conserve energy. You're going to get moisture going out through all the foliage and stuff, and all the energy is going to be used trying to conserve the structure. So if you start trying to get the roots involved in taking up fertilizer, it's going to distract it from the job it really wants to do, which is keeping moisture circulating through the tree. I'm not sure that's the exact right explanation, but bottom line is don't fertilise in the middle of summer either. Okay, so I'll keep working on that and I'll show it to you when I've finished it. But let's move on to another one. So that's just water loss. One of the regulars I'm used to is this. Anyone who's got Fuji Cherry will certainly be aware of this. You get all the leaf curl. Basically what you've got here is wind, heat, and it's killing off all the tips of the leaves. Normally with these I keep them, once they've flowered, I'll keep them in a relatively shady spot. Don't need the flowers, it doesn't need the direct sun, but I just find them more sensitive to heat and wind. This one, along with another one, I didn't this year. And again, the more trees, the lack of space, I'm finding rotation just a little bit more difficult and tricky. So this isn't trouble, this happens nearly everywhere. In fact, last year it didn't happen because I managed to rotate properly. But, you know, it's a sign that the tree is going to definitely be stressed. Obviously the roots aren't getting a lot of water. If you look at it, you know, there's not a lot of capacity to store or hold water in that actual soil mix. So, you know, it would need to be kept well hydrated. But again, same thing as the one I've just shown you, don't worry about it. They bud profusely. All I tend to do is remove all the foliage that is browned off, which in many cases will be all of it. And then again, go back to the main branches, have a look and do some bud selection. So it'd be the same as I did for the last one. And now for the the bigger example of that. It flowered nicely earlier in the year, it's been in the fashion show, and it's got exactly the same issue there. Dried up fruits, branches that have completely utterly hanging. This is actually in a pretty bad way, to be honest. It's never been this bad. And to be honest, this tree doesn't like the heat like that either. So all I can do, the main trunk is absolutely fine. I've checked the main secondary branches, they're fine. But I may lose some of the tertiary work I was working on. Don't be worried. It's a pain, it's annoying, it's soul destroying a little bit because you feel like all the work you've done is being wasted. But it's a reality, it's a fact of dealing with bonsais, and if you haven't got the location right, or you just get the wrong conditions, or you happen to be away a little bit longer than you intended, this can be the result. All you do is you give Mrs. Zebra a little stroke, go and watch Netflix for an hour, and then come out and do the hard work of defoliation, bud selection, and then keep it somewhere cool, well hydrated. Hawthorne, again, this, all of them are suffering from heat stroke basically. Again, it's a smaller pot, but the other thing I'm finding with the Hawthorne is that they're getting the powdery mildew. Normally it's the oaks, and I normally have a spray for powdery mildew, but it's been less effective this year. It's hard to see the powdery mildew on this, but either way, what you're getting from that is a tree that's already fighting a few issues, is also now fighting heat and lack of moisture. Again, you know, you just check it's alive, scratch test at different points, and then cut away all the dried and dying material and start again. I have no doubt this will be fine. And there is also a quite common, easy to obtain spray that you can use for powdery mildew, but I wouldn't be doing on this. Another Hawthorne, I've just been experimenting with this, and this one too. Just trying to see here, there's some powdery mildew, it's that really white powdery stuff. All you can do is take away the offending leaves, and then spray it. It'll come back fine. And really the one last thing I want to talk about is it's difficult, to be honest, today because we've had a combination of heat and drying out, but one of the things I noticed certainly with the hornbeams is they do have a tendency, if they're not in conditions they like best, i.e. you've tried to squeeze them into a pot that's clearly not suitable, expecting too much of them, you keep them in the heat, you ignore them, don't talk to them, don't give them ice cream, and they'll do this to you and say, alright, fine, I'm off. That's looking pretty ropey, but all you can do with this is one that it's a combination of factors. I haven't really got to it, I've got it in the wrong pot. So what I'm going to do on this one is recognise that a great part of the problem is probably there's just not enough soil space, it's really flat, so I'm going to give it an emergency repot. I'm going to put it into that. It's not tied down, let's see how that comes out. Okay. The fact that it's not tied down means I actually haven't looked at this for a very long time. Yeah. So, like magic, let's bring a more suitable pot in. Just want to get rid of some of the grass off the top, some mossy bits. I can see there is actually quite a good root structure under there, so it's certainly not dead roots or anything to worry about. All I need to do is give it another chance in a deeper pot, I think. Same process there, still don't want to have air pockets or anything underneath, and though I don't want to break the mat of roots up particularly, I do want to try and make sure that we're at least getting the old stuff a little bit combined with this new stuff. I've done this operation countless times with other trees, and generally there's not normally a problem with it. But I won't say that emergency repots don't come with some risk, because they do, especially if you do it in the middle of what we would call a heat wave. This again will stay somewhere cool. I'll remove all of the foliage I don't want, and that'll be that. So, emergency repot. Yeah, so apart from that, oh, there is one more thing I'm going to do, completely different. Probably the wrong time, but I'm going to do it because I've had enough. I'm sure we have all heard about my lemon and how all it does is make a lemon of me. No, this lemon, I've got two of them. This one actually is at least showing some growth signs, and there's shoots that are coming out, shoots that are coming out from here, and there are some higher up, but I've had enough. And I'm gonna, in the true sign of experimentation, I'm actually going to do quite a radical cut on this. I don't know whether now's a good time. Well, I know generally now's a good time to do this sort of work on lemons, but I'm going to take this whole top section off and see what happens, see what comes from here. I love all this. But I'm just not getting what I want from this, so I'm going to do a savage top cut. And having said that, I don't actually think I've got. I wish I had Nigel's power-driven or whatever cutters. They would work out really well, but I haven't. But what I have got are these secateurs. So let's just. Oh, I don't know if lemon you can just do like a ficus and just plant it. I somehow don't think so. Let's just get rid of all this healthy growth. Yeah, I thought that was probably a bit ambitious. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. Who knows, it may actually produce a bud somewhere along there. Okay, so there's our cut. Just clean it up a bit. And ask me if I'm confident. Truthfully, don't know. What I did realise is when I was cutting it, is this thing is not sitting in the pot that solidly. That tells me that despite the fact it's been in here for a very long time, there's not a lot of root growth, which tells me it's not particularly healthy, which would also be supported by the fact that it really hasn't been putting out much growth. So maybe if it can get over the major amputation of its body, it might let its little armlets grow. We shall see. So, like all the other radically hit stuff, this will go somewhere cool, and we'll see what happens. Do you know what? If it survives, we could actually have some quite decent example there. We'll see. Anyway, so that was me having a go with the lemon, and I'll be a right lemon if it goes wrong, because I'd have been better off leaving it as was. Okay, so I'm going to clean up this mess, and then I'll show you the trees when I finish doing all the stuff I said I was going to do to them.